Joining me is Ryan Grimm. He is one of the founders of Dropsite News, which has been doing brilliant reporting on really almost all the international stories, including Israel, and has been doing great reporting on the Epstein files. Ryan's also the author of We've Got People, The Squad, This Is Your Country on Drugs. He's co-host of Breaking Points, former TYT contributor. We've Got People, Young Turks, and Young Turks fans are in that book, so that's another good reason why you should check it out. But Ryan, welcome back, brother.
Always good to be here.
All right, good to have you. All right, so I want to start with all the reporting that you guys have been doing about Epstein. So you've uncovered all of these amazing emails where Epstein is in the middle of the Iran-Contra affair. As far as I know, the number of civilians in the middle of the Iran-Contra affair is 0. So he's trying to get Israel to buy cyber weapons. He's trying to get America to bomb Syria and Iran on behalf of Israel. He's got Israeli spies staying there. He's got Ehud Barak, the former prime minister. This thing is over. You guys proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt, yet no one else in news is following up on your reporting. So what in the world's going on?
You tell me. Yeah, it's an interesting question, and what's interesting is that there's a lot more that we can still uncover. I mean, we have a lot of stories that are still in the works. The documents, the correspondence that we're basing our reporting on, are public. Now we have some, excellent, researchers and some excellent tech folks who are, who have made it, searchable and have really kind of helped us in ways that, have gotten us kind of over the hump. But we don't have more resources than the New York Times or the Washington Post or Bloomberg. So, and I don't know. I think it's just too much. It's just too uncomfortable for the press to go there.
Yeah, it's interesting because people are seeing it anyway. Because right. Online media is so much stronger these days than it used to be. So I was talking to a supporter of Israel today, and he's like, "Well, obviously Epstein was an asset." Right? He's like, "What do you want me to say?"
That seems clear,
right? Yeah. Like, right. So okay, but you're generally very well respected in journalist circles in DC. That's my experience, having seen people interact with you throughout the years, both in person and online, etc. So, like with a David Sirota, who's just, no offense to you, just as good as you, great journalist, right?
Better even, he's tremendous, yeah.
Yeah, but with him, they're always like, Sirota. Like they've always hated him, right? But with you, they're like, oh, Ryan broke a story about, Kavanaugh, for example, and that became one of the biggest stories in the nation, right? So they take that seriously. In this case, are you getting any feedback from them? Like, we'd love to cover it, but we can't, or how dare you, I can't believe you turned into an anti-Semite, or anything?
No, rank and file reporters and just the people that I know in the industry have all said, like, this is great work. Wish we were doing this. This is incredible stuff. And the problem for some of these news organizations is, I think that the bigger obvious problems are the ones that drive it. But within a news organization, you might have hundreds of reporters, but only a few of them could be on the Epstein beat. You know what I mean? They might want to write about it, but it's just outside of their beat. There's an interesting distinction that some newsrooms draw between political reporting and national security reporting. And if you've noticed, the Epstein coverage is in the desk of the political bureaus in this country. So, what is the impact for Democrats in the midterms or Republicans in the midterms? What is the relationship between the files and President Trump? What about Epstein and the Clintons? Like, and how does this affect voters' attitudes towards the parties? Like, literally the political teams are the ones that are assigned to cover the Epstein beat. The national security teams are distinct in general from at these major papers and at the networks, and they are not allowed to. They're not supposed to be covering this. because it's in the realm of the politics, and so that keeps it also clean, like keeps it out of the hairier questions of who was he working for, what was he actually doing when he wasn't doing his child sex trafficking. So that's kind of how it functionally keeps the stories, keeps them pumping out the kinds of stories that you read, like the salacious, they're good stories, like Larry Summers doing, gross things and he has to step down. Like, that's a good story. Although I think actually the Harvard Crimson led the way on that, not the actual news media. The news media followed the Harvard Crimson there. Right. So that's part of it.
Yeah.
Like that's how they functionally divide it. So, but there really isn't a divide. Like, if you think about it, that goes back to how these newspapers understand their relationship with American empire and American power. Like that it's separate from politics.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something that
look, Ryan, I think your explanation. I think your explanation is excellent, and I'm going to add to it. But it's just an excuse. I don't think that they actually believe it. For example,
at the top, right?
Yeah, when you talk about, hey, when you guys are covering bills, well, I've asked reporters in DC, why don't you ever talk about money in politics? Because what drives the legislation is the donors, pretty much 100%. So when you do a story that doesn't include the donors, it's kind of like a fantastical story. It's made up, it's fiction, because it doesn't get to the number one issue. They go, well, that's not my beat. Money in politics is not my beat. Right. Congress is my beat. Well, then if you just kind of like isolate money in politics so it's not in anyone's beat, and you isolate Epstein so it's almost not in anyone's beat, that's a perfectly convenient excuse not to cover the two giant stories. Right. So that's a clever way that they've structured it. But why did they structure it that way? Because they don't want to cover those issues. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.